Bernard, thank you very much for coming and for being with us here and expressing your views. Saib, it is wonderful to listen to you again. It's a long time that we were not so close to each other, but we are still close. I would like to thank the French ambassador and the Swiss special emissary to the Z'neva initiative and to peace in the Middle East for being here with us. Your Excellencies, dear friends. The story of September is actually a very clear result of a fact which is not written in any of the agreements between the Palestinians and ourselves. What is the missing point there? We never wrote anything about the if not. Not because we forgot it, but because we understood that if not, then life will do something. And actually, nobody thought that for 30 years, this interim period of 5 years will continue. Now, is it possible to demand that the Palestinians will wait forever as long as there is no solution and will keep it or freeze the interim solution for 40% of the land? It's impossible. For how long can they wait? For 10 years, for 12 years, for 20 years, for 100 years, and tell them, don't do anything. You're not allowed. Don't use force of course. Don't do anything bad to us because we have an agreement. We will continue and settle and you do nothing. It is impossible. Even people who do not belong to our peace camp should understand it. Now, the original Palestinian way was to say, okay, you did not implement your part, we will use force. There is a very different leadership today, which says, forget it. We are not going to use force. Whatever happens, bad things to us, you continue to settle, you do many things, you don't negotiate with us, forget about violence. We will not use violence. I mean, by this way, the leadership of Abu Mazen, of Mahmoud Abbas, is actually tying its own hands, not without criticism in the Arab world and in Palestine itself. Now, to demand that they will not use diplomatic ways, I must say, is insane. So they were pushed to a diplomatic road. And the way they found was to go to the GA and to ask for recognition. And Saib himself told you the impediments on this way, especially if there is a veto by the in the Security Council by the Americans, and there will be such a veto. Now, those who are speaking about tsunami is not unhelpful for this aim, of course, because they are contributing to the feeling that this is a very important step, much more than if they had said something like, forget it, what's the big deal? They are going to the GA. The same countries which voted for them in '88 will continue and vote for them now. And no state will be created because they will stick to their 40% on the West Bank. And even if the UN decides whatever, 67, 47, 36, you name it, it will be the 40% that you're having today. And there won't be a real state. So it is important that high expectations are being created. But if in September nothing tangible is happening on the ground, which might be the case, and the expectations are still high, then something bad might happen. What is it exactly? We don't know. And as you know, we always are surprised. Like yesterday, we were surprised. It was in the Facebook, it was in the papers, but it was not in the secret reports of the intelligence. So we were very surprised. And I'm telling you, we can have these meetings. Barak can speak about a tsunami, and in September, we will all be very surprised.
To surprise you.
Now, the question is, what can we actually do? You are asking us, and you know, we are in a like-minded people audience, to ask our Prime Minister to support 1967, the 67 borders. We are going to ask him, I can promise you. Publicly, personally, we are going to do that. You can count on us. But you can also count on him, he will refuse. And I believe that Netanyahu is a person who is very cares for the interest of Israel, would like to have peace with all our neighbors on the basis of his own ideas and his own lines, which puts him in a very small minority in this world. I don't think for a moment, really, I'm not cynical about it, that Netanyahu doesn't want peace. He would like to have peace, but not according to our lines. Legitimate. He was democratically elected. Even if Israel is not or will not be the only democracy in the Middle East, which will be a shame, you know, we were used to it. But even if we are not the only ones, we are still a democracy, and he was elected democratically. So the real question is, what can we do in the meantime? Taking into consideration this new situation with the agreement that you have with the Hamas. And of course, you are right about the criticism that Israel was the one which said, how can you represent the Palestinian people if they are not united? And now that we are saying something else. On the other hand, one have to understand too that Hamas did not change its mind, and it doesn't make our life easier. I mean, the life of those who have to protect, to defend everything. So I'm asking myself, what can really be done by September, if at all? Because, I mean, one option is to wait until September and then to see, and to be surprised. Now, if we are right, and if it is true that Netanyahu is not there for a permanent agreement between the Palestinians and the Israelis, because the price that Netanyahu is ready to pay is very far from the price which is demanded by the pragmatic Palestinian camp. It is too far. In my view, I cannot say never, and circumstances may change things, as it happened with Sharon, it happened with Olmert. But if you ask me, after more than 2 years of Netanyahu in his second term, we cannot wait for, we should not wait and expect such a revolution with him. As a result of it, we are not going to have these 2 days in which we can make peace with the Palestinians and get to a permanent agreement. Now, is there another way? And this is the big question. The big question for the world, for the Palestinians, and for the Israelis. Because the obvious way would be either a permanent agreement or nothing until circumstances change. I am very worried about this nothing. Why? Because it is the unknown. And the unknown may be okay and may be disastrous. And I hate to be in a situation whereby we are totally passive, waiting to some tsunami or whatever it is, without doing anything to prevent the bad news. And this is why I'm asking myself, and I can tell you, this is a kind of an internal debate in the peace camp in Israel, and it might be also something parallel to it in the peace camp in Palestine, whether there is something in between.